Tell me about the future of robotic farming.
This is an area that I don't think a lot of people don't hear about because it's not nearly as sexy as aircraft carriers and Iran-captured UAVs that make the news. But in fact, we have a real problem in this country and other countries where we just don't have the manpower to do the farming that we need. And so what's kind of interesting to me on a socio-technical level is farmers are actually very conservative. The John Deere crowd, you know, I come from a farming family, and this is not a crowd that generally lends itself to robots, except that they can't get enough people to work the fields. And so if we can cue up the next picture, one of the big up-and-coming technologies is crop dusting. And this has already been happening. And, oh, well, let me skip ahead to the tractor. John Deere, who allowed me to show you this picture, this is a robotic tractor that's it's in the orchard doing spraying. And if you'll note, here it comes. There is nobody in that tractor. And then every fighter pilot likes to have a formation flight going on. And what you'll see is there's one coming right behind it, so that they can actually collaborate in some sense and do this task that is very labor intensive but actually very boring. If you've never seen a current day John Deere tractor, you really should, because they have more TV and entertainment devices in the tractor than you could possibly imagine. It's the sweetest entertainment suite. And why is that? Because it's really boring, and these tractors can do a lot on their own. And so instead of that guy being bored in the tractor cockpit, let's take him or her out and turn this over to the robot so that the person can do something else.
And that's a LiDAR system. That's
right.
A laser,
that's right.
A laser ranging.
Sebastian, it's very similar to the same systems that Sebastian uses.
And given the amount of pesticide that was being sprayed there, it's probably a good thing there was no.
Absolutely. I mean, you can imagine that this is. You know, we talk about UAVs for dull, dirty, dangerous missions, and we hear that a lot in the military, but we don't really think about, well, where else would that be? And certainly the farming world with the pesticides and the crop dusting that's likely going to take place very soon. In fact, the USDA is looking at trials of that right now. We're going to see UAVs in our everyday life to support the food we eat. Yeah, there's a picture of the Yamaha RMAX, and right now these are manually controlled to do crop dusting in places like Japan, but we're going to see this more and more in places in our own backyards by, you know, a farmer who can touch a button on his iPad and the helicopter takes off, and it actually can do crop and health monitoring as well, and it will talk to those tractors to actually do an integrated management all from the armchair of the farmer.
What worries you?
For the farming community, that doesn't really worry me at all, because this is the perfect place for vehicles to operate. You know, if they get stuck, they stop. This is the great thing about ground unmanned vehicles, is that if anything goes wrong, they just stop and you come out and fix them and you can remotely disable them. Unmanned aerial vehicles, a little bit trickier, right? And this is in fact why, rightly so, that the FAA should be involved at some point, because you need to figure out that for RMAX, the Yamahas, if there's an emergency, will it auto-rotate to a safe place and avoid people? I will tell you that in the agricultural world, again, I'm not worried because there's not that many people out there. In the carrier aviation world, safety is a big problem, because we're trying to figure out how to make planes, robotic planes, taxi with manned planes, all directed by humans on the ground that are just missing each other by inches. And so the safety component is still a major concern in these tightly constrained spaces, and we don't have the solution for that, but just stand by.